In this video, we're going to look at what are called reverse percentages, and that's sometimes called finding the original amount. To start with, we're going to remind ourselves how to do a percentage increase, because that's going to be very useful. We're going to need to know how to do that to be able to do these. So, Jim earns $375 a week. He gets an 8% pay rise. How much does he earn each week now? This was a question we looked at in the video that we did on percentage increase and percentage decrease. And remember, we talked about multipliers. So if he has an increase of 8%, that means he wants 108%. So he wants 108% of 375. And what that means is, with the calculation we're doing, is 375 times by 1.08. As 1.08 is our multiplier, a decimal multiplier that we do to do this sum. And when we do that, we get an answer of $405. Now the next part is the question above, but ordered slightly differently. Jim earns $405 a week. He just had an 8% pay rise. What did he earn before the pay rise? Well, we know from the one above that the answer is 375, because the 405 and the 8% are the same. Now, how do we get there? Well, we look at the equation we had above, and we rearrange it. Instead of having the 375 with the 1.08, it's the 405 with the 1.08. But how do we move this over to this side? Well, if it was multiplying, we now have to divide. So what we get is we have 405 divided by the 1.08, and that's equal to the 375 as our answer, which, if we didn't know, we'd have to do the calculation. The way we often do this is we use a little bit of algebra to do the rearrangement. We're going to see that in the examples on the next slide. But as a recap of what we're actually doing, we're finding the multiplier by considering what we did to the original amount. So what did we have to multiply the original amount by? Well, we had to multiply by 1.08 to get the increase. So we're going to have to divide by the 1.08 to undo that multiplication that we have to do. So let's have a look at two examples. A camera is reduced by 5% in a sale. If it now costs $15.20, how much did it cost before the sale? Well, if the original amount we don't know, that's X. And if it was reduced by 5%, then we wanted 95%, so our multiplier is 0.95. So it's X times by 0.95, and we know that that equals $15.20. So doing a little bit of rearranging, X, the amount we don't know, the original amount, is equal to 15.20 divided by, we've got to pull the times by over the other side, divided by 0.95. And when we do that, we get an answer of 16. So the original amount of the camera was $16. In the second example, we're told that a dinner costs $80.50. And that $80.50 includes a service charge of 15%. So we're asked, how much did the food and drink cost before that 15% service charge was added? So the food, or let's say that cost X, because we don't know how much it actually cost, the food and drink cost X, and we've got to add on 15% service charge. So we've got to multiply. Well, if we're increasing by 15%, we want 115%, so the multiplier is 1.15. And we know that that gives us an answer when we increase it by that of 80.50. If we know that, we can now rearrange. X is equal to, well, divide by the 1.15. So it's 80.50 divided by the 1.15. And when we do that, we get an answer of $70. So $70 was the original amount, and when we do 70 increased by 1.15, we get the 80.5 that we know the total bill was. So that's how we do reverse percentages. We have to think about what it was we would have multiplied by, and then we're going to divide